about a few minutes, a few seconds? I assume she's ready.
So now we gotta behave. The mic is on. So if you want to whisper, go.
Okay, good evening. It's 7:04, and we're going to start the meeting for the Citizens Involvement Council. This is the Monday, September 12th edition. And this is all the neighborhood associations of Oregon City combined together in a meeting, those that are present. Chris, if you'd like to do roll call, please.
Sure. Kathy Slight, Barkley Hills excused. Walter White, Barkley Hills.
Here.
Howard Post, Kanema. Paul Edgar, Kanema.
Here.
Larry Hanlon, Caulfield.
Here.
Rachel Gunderson, Chamber of Commerce excused. Kathy Hogan, Hazel Grove.
Here.
Tom O'Brien, Hazel Grove.
Here.
Ray Gordon, Hillendale.
Here.
William Gifford, Hillendale.
Here.
Michael Berman, Main Street. Bill Daniels, McLaughlin. Alice Watts, McLaughlin.
Here.
Nancy Crushauer, Public Works, excused. Tom Guile, Park Place.
Here.
Steve Van Haverbeek, excused. Bruce Danielson, Rivercrest. Patty Brown, Rivercrest. Ingra Rickenbach, South End.
Here.
David Rickenbach, South End.
President accounted for.
Steve Tam, Tower Vista, excused. And Scott Young, Tower Vista, excused.
Wow, a lot of excused.
Concludes it.
Okay, and can we have those in the audience please identify themselves for the record?
I'm Todd Samuelson.
Spell the last name, please.
Samuelson is Samuusson.
Thank you.
And I'm Paula Manley. Manley is Manley.
I'm Nick Durkin. I'm the Vice Chair of the Park Place Association.
For the listening audience that can't hear all those names, we have Tom Samuelson, Paula Manley, both from Oregon Commons.
Correct.
That's correct, and Nick Deardman from Park Place Neighborhood Association, Vice Chair.
Okay. My name's Tom Guile. I'm the chair. We're going to, we have a light agenda this evening, and we're going to try and see if we can't do this in an hour tonight. Wouldn't that be great for all of us to get out in time for that? So rather than go on like we have, let's try to keep the conversations tight and get through our business orderly. So with that, we're going to go right into the guest speakers from the Oregon Commons. If you'll please step up to the microphones and your presentation.
Well, thank you for having us. And Tom and William, it was a pleasure to meet you back in, I believe it was June. It seems like it was yesterday.
This year, yeah.
Yes. So here we are in September already. So I'm Paula Manley, and this is Todd Samuelson, and we're with the Oregon Commons Project. And we're here to talk to you and explore with you a little bit about the work we're doing and to see if it might be a good fit for helping to achieve some of the goals of neighborhood associations and the CIC.
Just before you go, I noticed on here, Chris, there wasn't a time on this one that I saw. Did they tell you how much time you had to speak, by the way?
No.
Do you know how much
We're
time?
very flexible.
Okay, we try to keep them to 10, 15 minutes if possible. Okay, great.
Why don't I go ahead and hand this out?
I can do that, please.
Thank you. More than
You met me at City Hall, too.
Larry was there. You just don't recognize him with
Yes.
his eye operation.
Okay. Yes, Larry, I do remember. Yes, we had a good engaged conversation about this work and appreciate the invitation to come and think it through together with the full CIC.
He doesn't recognize people either until his eye heals.
But I'm real good at Braille.
So, sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, not a problem. And actually, I was hoping that, as questions come up, we could just keep it a little bit interactive.
Okay.
But basically, first, what the Oregon Commons Project is, Our mission is to inspire appreciation, stewardship, and advocacy of our Oregon Commons. And by that, we really mean, in a broad way, the gifts of nature and civilization that we share across generations. So everything from parks to water to roadways. Many of these community assets that I know are part of what you all are working on every day in your neighborhood association work and your CIC work, and also in how you're working with the city. And so what we have been doing, we were really motivated to get started last year, just feeling a sense of the polarization in the civic discourse, nationally and many places, and feeling like we wanted to do something to focus energy on what do we hold in common? Can we focus on what we have in common as a basis for getting more involved in our communities? So at this point, we've done maybe 10 or 12 Mapping the Commons workshops. This is an interactive workshop where people come together and jointly go through a little bit of a structured, facilitated process to identify the diverse aspects of their local commons, to map it visually in a way where it can be seen and kind of understood collectively, and then to think a little bit together in small groups and as a full group about how are we doing in stewarding these community assets. What's working well? Where are the areas that maybe need some attention? Those kind of conversations. What we have been finding is pretty much a universal experience. As we move towards the end of the workshop, people have come up with any number of ideas on what would make sense as far as action, moving forward. So the question about what next is the question on everyone's mind. Part of the reason we're here today is to say, we know some people who are the experts on what's next. What's happening in neighborhood associations and in civic engagement. What's the structure that's already set up for this? And we're thinking that if we were partnering more with neighborhood associations on doing these workshops, there's the potential to both perhaps energize and inspire some who've been in the trenches doing this work a long time, and possibly open up and bring in some people who haven't been that involved in neighborhood association work historically. So I guess a couple of the questions that I have for you, one is, are there issues and opportunities here in Oregon City that you feel could benefit from more people getting involved? Or do you pretty much have it covered with those who are coming to meetings and getting involved? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And also there was another presentation a few months ago about the Beaverton City, what was that called? Beaverton Civic Plan or Community Plan, basically. So that the community's already agreed to a plan before then the business comes in and everyone has to try and figure out what are we going to do now when the city starts a vision.
And uniquely in a city like Beaverton that has always been broken apart on conflict over economic development and urban renewal, they set about to facilitate a plan where they brought people in and they solved the problems kind of that have historically have not had solutions, and that's in big old Beaverton, and so that's really quite amazing.
And so what do you think made the difference? I mean, having kind of a structure to facilitate people talking? Well,
it was basically really reaching out in goal one. It was reaching out and bringing people together and listening and asking them to be co-participants. And amazingly, that rang a bell, and they with the community, and they had amazing results where they've had amazingly fractured community.
I might add something here just for the benefit of those who weren't present at the initial meeting here in the City Hall that Larry and William and I attended. When this subject was approached to us, we said, well, we already have kind of a process in place through our neighborhood associations. That's where people who have issues usually come to their neighborhood associations, and then they usually bring it to here, where we can discuss it as a group. And we were asking them to come this evening to the CIC to explain what is the difference between what they're proposing and what the neighborhood associations already currently do, and through your individual ones as well as through this collective group here. So I think that's where we're at this point, is we know that these issues are there, just what is the best way to achieve it? Is it working through us as or on their own, or that's where we left it? Is that not correct, William? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Just so you have a background.
Yeah, and I guess what I would say is that our sort of starting point is to recognize that the wisdom in the community, you know, those who live in the community are the experts from many different vantage points on their community and on what's needed in the community. And I think that, I mean, I have a deep appreciation for neighborhood associations. I live in Southeast Portland. I've been real involved with Southeast Uplift, which is our coalition of 20 neighborhood associations in Southeast where we live. I think that what we have been finding with this Commons process is that just having an open container for people to come in and really think together about what we have in common and have that level of appreciation builds energy. And also people tend to know more about different things. Somebody really knows the backstory on the interpretive center, and somebody knows the backstory on how this park is getting maintained. And so, again, not just Commons as stuff, but as all the history of activism that keeps it alive and, keeps it going. So what we're finding is, that this isn't really an either or in terms of do this or do neighborhood associations, but we were thinking that it might be, because it's a little bit of a different frame, it might catch someone's attention who isn't coming from a specific issue, but is coming from that idea of community betterment and just wanting to understand what do we have in common. And potentially that can lead to engagement in some of the things that I'm guessing are already on the to-do list with the neighborhood associations. So for people who might be newer to the process, but and be open to being kind of channeled into an activity.
Could you explain to everyone here, is this a city government inspired? Is this a group outside? Any connection to the city or the neighborhoods? That is, kind of explain to them where this is coming from.
Sure.
Who is the...
Great question. So this started in maybe late 2009 with me and Todd and a friend of ours, Lenny D., having dinner together and talking about the state of the world and thinking about the level of polarization that we're all feeling was kind of grinding us down. And we had also been in touch with, we had learned that there's a group in Minneapolis working on raising awareness of the Commons as sort of a way to get people more civically engaged. And Jay Welljesper wrote this book, All That We Share, A Field Guide to the Commons. And so that was kind of inspiring for us to feel like we might be tapping into something, bigger than just what we were wanting to do. So we really literally started thinking about, if we wanted to get involved in this, what would we need to know? And we literally started mapping out on a big blue sticky wall, visually, ideas about all the diversity of the Commons, and starting to name and find language for those things. I think that, I think that today we're so accustomed to thinking about things mainly in terms of the market that the whole language of community and sharing and what are we working on together sometimes gets diminished. So I think that's the impetus for us, yeah.
Okay, a couple things on that. So this is one, it's not government run, it's private citizens getting together and trying to get maybe government to listen to you and what the needs of everybody is.
Well, I think our audience isn't so much government as people.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other thing is, like in Oregon City, there's our acquaintance. He started with his wife and some other people, Oregon City Local Harvest 2020, and they did off of Division Street by the hospital. They cleaned all the shrub. They got permission and planted food, trees and things, and then they go and they weed it, and then they do composting, and they've been doing projects like that. And then they have meetings, and then it's meetup. If you get on the website, it's Oregon City Harvest 2020. So and they're a good group that go out and are active and trying to, provide food. If you wanted to walk by and take an apple, a pear, whatever kind of trees, it's there.
Where are you going with that? Are you?
Well, it's a project. It's a group that's together.
You're just pointing out that there's a group. There's not.
Yeah, there is a group, and so that it can be done.
Okay. I believe William.
I have a specific question. Something that still wasn't clear to me, even though we had already talked, is what resources Oregon Commons can bring to the table if you perceive that there's something that you can do to help us. I mean, I'm not exactly sure how you complement us, overlay us, support us. If there are the two of you, what do you facilitate meetings, or what do you do?
Essentially, we facilitate a workshop process, and that's what it is. What we bring is a workshop that's a community engagement workshop based around the concept of the frame of the commons, looking at the world or your community through this framework of, wow, there sure is a lot of stuff here that we have in common that we almost take for granted. We don't really realize how rich we are in these community assets. And so what the outcome is for a group like yourself would be people that you had encouraged to attend a workshop like this would come to it. They'd get kind of fired up, and they'd be more motivated to participate in not anything necessarily more than that we're doing, but what you have. So it's just a workshop, and it's not just the two of us. There's a bunch of people involved now.
There's 7.
Yeah, and that's really what it is. It's a workshop.
Based on what Kathy said, I wanted to clarify something. It sounded like she was saying, so you work with the government or through suggestions. I was thinking, this isn't a negotiation thing with us working with the government. This is just conversation, right? You're not representing us.
Oh, yeah, no, we're
And
not
that's, I
representing.
heard her say that.
No, that's what
Yeah.
I was asking.
Yeah.
'cause
And this is more
think-
conversation. You're not an arbitrator or negotiator.
No,
No.
we're and just to be clear, we're volunteers. This is our idea of fun. Okay, is to do these workshops and get people involved. So,
Well, that's what I was going to say. This is not government either in this
No,
room.
it isn't. And that's what I like, because I think people don't need that. I don't think they
Sorry.
need that. They need, just to get together and talk.
Talk.
And I noticed you have a website, so that if people were interested, they could always go to the website and get more information, I'm assuming.
So I was just going to say, just to reiterate, it sounds pretty exciting that, if I'm hearing it correctly, is that you are planting the seeds for us to go out ourselves and help grow this stewardship and stuff. Is that what you're doing? Okay.
absolutely, yes.
great.
We're not from here, and we're not. The infrastructure for doing the work, I think. You all are, and the neighborhood
Yeah.
associations are a big part of it.
You're-
And these
you're-
other nonprofits, such as this garden that you were mentioning, I think there's also other avenues too.
Yeah. You're making Johnny Appleseeds. That's what. So.
Yeah, I hope so. That's the goal, because we wouldn't have the capacity to sort of staff up all the seeds that are planted.
I should suggest, too, if we're
Oh,
going to talk,
yeah.
put those up, because I can't always see your hands down there, but I didn't see. Go ahead, Walter.
Oh, no. Tom,
Was there somebody down there I didn't see?
You missed Tom.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say, I think it's brilliant, but I also think it's something that we could maybe two neighborhood associations maybe meet together in one workshop. One of our biggest problems here is we have just the same problem with our government, where we have an apathetic voter. We have apathetic citizens here. We have 1%, probably 1% of our people show up.
Or less.
So anything that we can do to get at to 2% would bring 40 people to my meetings. I mean, amazing. We would all just be in shock. So I think it's a win-win, even if it's whatever it takes from some kind of grant money or whatever to bring a presentation or whatever, and or you can volunteer your time. But thank you for being here.
So just to be clear, we're offering the workshops at no charge, and we're volunteers.
Oh, okay.
Later this fall, we're going to be meeting up more with the national group on the Commons, thinking longer term about sustainability, maybe go after some foundation fund, that type of thing.
Okay.
But our group of 7 now, and we have a set of facilitators, we have what we need to go out and do a bunch of workshops.
Wow. Okay.
So this is part of our developmental process as well. What's exciting for us is the idea of connecting up more directly with neighborhood associations who are you're already set up to do that what's next, so that we don't have the people going to a workshop getting all fired up and then, well, what's next?
Okay.
We can say, oh, well, here's what's next. Neighborhood association working on XYZ issues.
Time clock has gone down, but that's normally how much time we allow someone to speak. But this has been interactive, so you haven't had the full amount of time. And so, but what I was going to say is, let's start hearing some voices up here. What do you think of this idea? Where do you want to take it, Tom?
Walter kind of touched on it a little bit in that early in your presentation, Paula, you talked about the fact that people tend to get fired up and that you've had some experience now in dealing with this issue. At the end of the meetings or the end of the seminar, people are ready to act. The next step that comes to my mind is most decisions that are made in a group of that nature require some financing and funding. In your experience thus far, how has that funding taken place?
Well, the workshops, just to be clear, the workshops we've been doing, the majority of the workshops have been for the general public versus groups that are already in a neighborhood that might be maybe a unit that would be more set to, have a plan and enact something. So I would say that most of the workshops we've done have been really more at the awareness raising level, versus the springboarding, the going forward organizations or actions.
So those actions then that you've come up with during that process have basically been dropped? No action on it?
Just one quick example. We did a workshop here in Oregon City, and people were enthusiastic about it, and they said, we think your next step should be to go talk to the neighborhood association. So,
Can I ask with whom you had a meeting here?
I don't have the roster. Shaw Spady was the contact who did some outreach and helped pique some local interest in it. The mayor attended, but again, it wasn't
City manager?
City manager, no.
What? I'm talking about the meeting we met. Was there
Oh,
another
I was
meeting?
actually talking about, we did one of these Mapping the Commons workshops.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a cross-section of people. I didn't get the feeling that it was loaded up with people that were officially involved in neighborhood associations, although it was voiced several times. We have a very active neighborhood association system here. They thought that our next step should be doing some more direct connection.
And in some of
very
the other
new.
ones you've done, I'm trying to understand, what you said early on relative to everybody got fired up.
Right.
And now, what has taken place beyond that?
That's the issue here, is that we're coming in as generalists. This is your commons, this is your community, this is what you have in value. But at the end of a workshop like this, it's more on the attendees to come up with what's next. And that's not what we're doing.
Understand that, but in your experiences thus far, what have those groups that you've workshopped with done? What are some of the results of all of your fine efforts?
Well, we're actually I think still what you would call an incubation stage. We have a workshop September 18th, and this will be our maiden voyage with, now we've got SurveyMonkey set up so that we will systematically follow up with everybody as a post-workshop, what happened, what's their evaluation, that kind of thing. So I think we're, poised to collect some data. I think so far we've just heard anecdotally from people like, oh, I ran into such and such who I saw at the Community Learning Center, after the meeting, we were both at this event and we made a plan to get together. I mean, those kind of things. So I would say the kind of informal ripple effect of strengthening the social ties in many small ways versus a big organized initiative that's got resources and an action plan.
Thank you.
At this point, I would say, we have hopes.
Walter.
Yeah, I just want to say, I think there's a way that we could maybe bring, the word workshop kind of scares everybody. They think, oh my God, it's a weekend and I have to take all this time away from my life and my kids. So I would suggest maybe to make it work into our little city here is that we would find a way that these ideas are presented at a neighborhood meeting by these experts, and individually activate some brains in our little, and then people, that maybe that's the seed that we're talking about, that Ray's mentioning, and that, and it has to start somewhere, and it sure as hell isn't going to happen where people are going to show up who aren't even showing up to a meeting 4 times a year. So, because they only show up when there's a problem in their community, and it seems, that's what I'm finding.
An opportunity.
So, right, or opportunity. But, so maybe there's a way that without the word workshop, without it whittled down, I don't even know what your presentation is, if it's 10 hours or if it's 45 minutes, I have no idea.
It's 3 hours, and it's
Okay.
basically an interactive, story sharing experience, you could
Right.
call it. I mean, you could,
Right.
yeah.
But we have meetings that are 2 hours long, and we could probably. I'm not talking about CIC. I'm talking about none of us here. I think this would be better to bring straight to our neighborhoods, and each one of us can then a year from now come back and say, this is what's worked, and this is what seeds were planted, and then we might. Is that something that you guys ever thought about when you're talking about neighborhoods?
Sure, and I mean, what we had actually thought, coming into tonight was it might be that 1 or 2 neighborhoods associations might want to band together and, work with us on outreach and do this once as a test. And it wouldn't have to be a whole citywide thing even. It could be a certain part of town or a couple of neighborhood associations. I do think that having the local tie-in really matters because it's the sort of out-of-town person coming in to do a thing isn't,
Right.
I think, a big draw unless there's some local champion who's helping for people, to communicate that message is this is relevant here. We're going to apply this and come together here. So that's definitely a possibility.
Right, that was going to be my next question. William, my sidekick here, just asked if there are any neighborhoods that would like to propose to these individuals that they come to you. Do you want to do something in unison with them?
I'm very interested in it, but I think there's something that could be said for having it be an all neighborhood thing, because then it really fosters that unity between neighborhoods, because we are all Oregon City, but also what I'm seeing in this too is that there's one thing about when you give responsibility to somebody for something, they feel more like they have a chance to do something. So you give them responsibility for these commons that you're talking about. They really feel more responsible for them, and like they have a ability to do something, and they're going to take better care of it. It's that whole thing about somebody else's kid, or is it considered my kid too? And you're going to take better care of it. So that's why I think that having, I appreciate you guys coming, because that's just such a wonderful thing you're doing, that you started from your heart. You can totally see that, and doing it for free too is a really nice thing to start. So if there's a way to have like some kind of event space, and then try to encourage the really proactive members of each of your neighborhood associations and everybody to come together and do that. Would be.
I can't help but feel that would have to really take some promotion. It would take time to put that together with all the neighborhoods. Number one. Number two is some neighborhoods have specific problems in them, and they probably think it was there to resolve their problems, where it should be more commons and what everybody has in common. Is that
more
correct?
Towards Oregon City a bit.
And I'm wondering if I mean, I see your point, but I'm wondering if it wouldn't be better to start with a few and see how it works before we
Right.
try to expand it to everyone. See how that works with a few before we open it up and all of a sudden realize that, whoop, this wasn't what we thought it was.
Can I make a comment? Just given the number of neighborhood associations here, if 2 people from every association came, it would be a great, rich workshop. If 3
That would-
people
you
came
feel
to
that was
it would work
successful?
really well.
Okay.
People would learn a lot. And
I
they'd have
was
a lot
wondering
of
if you're
fun.
expecting hundreds or
No,
something.
no, it's
It works great with 20.
it
Plus,
worked
everybody
great.
would learn about what's going on with other people.
That makes sense.
And that's a good seed. And I'd strongly recommend that's a great way to start. It's just a
So,
I think Tom's,
Yeah.
I guess my views would be that I'd like to see some people champion this. And if we've got a couple neighborhood associations who really feel that this is the direction and they want to be the leaders in going forward, I'd like to see them maybe just those couple of associations who really have a passion for it.
like sponsors.
The biggest problem that we've got, as I see it in hearing the different neighborhood associations representatives speak, is that apathy reigns supreme in our city. And getting a turnout to meetings other than perhaps McLaughlin neighborhood is a real serious challenge. And we have limited funding to get word out on anything. My personal experience is that if you've got an idea that's a great idea, it's oftentimes better to have a couple of champions run with it and just, take that pace, and then the followers will kind of learn about it and pick up the pace, if you would.
I would
Just my own personal.
So Ray and Walter have
I was just going to say, we would be more than happy to, have a couple of people to sort of huddle with and actively assist on the messaging and, those kinds of things. I mean, we would look at it as a partnership, not just...
I already want to talk to you
I
about
have
my
said that
day job.
jokingly, but I meant it. Ray and Walter, you seem to really have picked up on this. Are you interested in talking to them further?
Well, also the fact is for my day job, I spend all this time trying to make partners out of competitors. So it kind of really speaks to what I do during the day. So I could totally get it. I totally get what you're doing.
And then I had a question on, to do this, there has to be communication to the people within the neighborhood, so there has to be a mailing or something, an invitation and an explanation.
Or announcement in the Oregon City.
Announcement in the paper, something so that it's well thought out, well planned to get, some to come.
Well, what I would like to propose is that maybe, because of what I just said, Walter and Ray, talk to them a little further and see what we can work up, and see what should it be just the two of you, or do you want to involve other ones? But why don't we appoint a subcommittee of the two of you to find out what we can do with this?
And the way that I look at it is, I mean, we've spent a year and a half in our neighborhood just to get people's names and addresses and emails, and the people who we don't have those by now are not my target customer for this. So I've just assumed I'm not going to mail anything. I'm going to send to people who have never even come to a meeting and given me their emails. So at this point, even if only 2 people showed up, I've got an email list of 40 people at least. So same with you, Ray, I'm sure.
Well, here's a question too, and I'm sorry, I hope I'm not.
No, just for sake of
where is the
time.
18th, the one already set up? Is that something that's full?
The next one that's coming up, it's actually in downtown Portland.
Oh, okay.
But is this something they could attend to see how it worked?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have
the
one
library.
September 18th, and we have one October 8th, both at the downtown Portland Library.
On the website.
And we would
On the website?
request that you sign up via the website, just because we would flag it and know that you were coming. We're getting close to full on at least one of those, but
Okay.
we would make it a priority to make sure that you could
So,
come.
for the sake of
Sunday,
timing now, it's 20 to 8, so we're not going to make that hour time that I'd hoped.
Those dates again?
I know, it's just
Well, I can
time.
bring duct tape for my mouth.
But, well,
Yeah, you know.
What I'm trying to propose is that they give either offline here, because this is televised, they give you their contact information, or vice versa, so that it's not televised. Is that okay, Walter and Ray?
Yeah, yeah.
I just figured how I could.
What? Okay, so we have a new subcommittee called the Commons Subcommittee. Commons Subcommittee, and that'll be Walter. And you'll report back to us next month about what a grand time you all had. Is that okay, expectation-wise?
Well, we're excited. Thank you so much. That's terrific.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to all our questions.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I know it'll crush you all, but we're not going to stay for the rest of
What?
Thanks
We have
a lot.
splits later.
The doors have been locked. The doors have been locked. You're here.
You're going to miss the ice cream.
The ice cream social we have.
Okay, next on the agenda, approval of minutes. Secretary William Gifford.
The minutes were attached to the agenda, thanks to Chris, and an email has been sent out to all of you. I hope you've had a chance to look at these, and I would like to hear a motion to approve these minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Walter, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Excuse me.
All for questions.
Is that a third?
No, that's a fifth.
Good one. Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay, they're passed. Next, on to old business. Now we're moving. Disabled vets at Clackamas Park. Larry Hanlon.
I need your help. We would like to support the disabled veterans in the Clackamas Park, and I would like to ask you guys to get behind me in this and see if we can give me some advice on where to go with it. But it's not going to be a financial investment. It'll be very minimal. All we want to do is go to City Council and say, we want our war vets that are handicapped to be able to go down to the park, park their motorhomes at no cost. And step 2 is to figure out the feasibility of putting in a designated handicap fishing space. And I don't know if that's building a dock or if it's just paving it, but I need all the help I can get. So what do you guys think? What ideas do you have?
Kathy?
I had been talking to somebody about that, and I don't know if it was from the city or who it was, but they talked about, because the docks aren't there for, the ramp isn't there for the boats, so the Clackamas isn't really safer trying to get that ramp out because of this, the current. So you're really going to have, we really need to know somebody from Public Works or engineering to find out, or the Marine Board or somebody that has the knowledge of the river and which portion, because even going down a John Storm, that ramp is such a angle that would be very dangerous for,
Totally agree.
And I don't think anything can be built without Marine Board approval.
Yeah, so I think the Marine Board is somebody you have to get in contact with.
I know there's only a certain window that you can work in the river.
I'm quite naive about the whole thing, Larry, but I would suggest that maybe you don't have it a complete free-for-all, because then you might have people that basically live there.
Right.
So
No, it's restricted.
Oh, it is? Okay. I don't know how it works.
We would go on the state law, which is 5 days.
Oh, okay. Oh, see, I don't know that.
So-
Okay, great.
Yes, Paul?
There is a Natural Resources Committee that was formed by the city recently and has now have appointed members to it that has enormous degrees of expertise and contacts within the world that with all of the knowledge that you need to have.
Would you help me with that, Paul?
Yeah, yes, I can. And they are, it's everybody from National Fisheries to NOAA to a guy by the name of Todd Ellsbury, who's the head of fish and game for this fish wildlife resources for the state here in this area. There's a whole bunch of people that I dealt with and talked to, and most of them are all connected to our Natural Resources Committee, including our mayor. So that provides, it could be a lot of synergy, and I think we need to just reach into that group and empower them to help to find all of the appropriate solutions.
I appreciate it. What I'd like to do first is to get it approved for the overnight camping and then go on once we get that done, because I don't think it's going to be any problem funding, because a couple of churches I've talked to are willing to. The Carpenters Union is willing to do the labor if it's a wooden structure, and they've even offered to go to some of the building supply companies to get behind it. So what I need is exactly what you've offered. It's just the expertise to get it done.
Going to the natural resources, yeah. Tom?
Just a thought, and I don't know whether it's workable or not, Larry, but it seems to me moving forward that a short distance away from Clackamas Park is your Cove area, and that has urban renewal funding going against it. I'm not sure that the current developer is going to ultimately do it, but you might consider whether or not that has less restrictions in terms of building a dock, or if it's suitable from a fishing perspective.
There's pan fishing there.
So I don't know. I'm not a fisher person, so I can't really tell you, but just something to keep in mind. There is another, if you're running into too many roadblocks on either of the rivers, that's not terribly far away.
And step one, I think, is the easiest thing to get through. We just got to go through the Scott Archer's for it.
We've already voted on this.
Yeah, we voted on it, passed through here. Now I'm coming back and saying, how do you guys want me to do this, or how are we going to do this as a group? Because I would really like it to be a CIC function, not a Larry Hanlon function, because we're a group, but we're not me.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we do what Paul said, take it to the natural resources, see what they say, and then come back with
Absolutely.
it after they've given their
I will
ideas.
champion you into that.
Thank you, Paul.
And in the meantime, I know that we skipped over, a couple of people, we had William up here. Did you have something you wanted to add or say?
No, I said it actually, that we've already voted on this, and the first, and it's two distinct phases. Phase one is to get disabled vets the permission to camp for free down at Clackamas Park, and I think that's just an administrative thing. I don't know what the economic impact is. I can't imagine it's going to cost.
Minimal.
That's right.
It's going to cost us a huge amount, or the city a huge amount. The second piece, we're not engineers. We can take it to the the Natural Resources Commission and get the thing figured out. So,
Okay.
You figured it out.
Ray has her hand.
Okay, Ray?
Thank you. Hi. Okay, so you got the two-part thing going on. The one part, let me know if you, let me know if you want me to send you some of my contacts at the state that have already done this, and maybe they have a press release that could help, what the appetite of people that you need to get interested. And then two, I believe it's Trillium Lake has a handicapped fishing thing already set up. So I don't know how old that is. So maybe that's whoever did that has some plans that they'll give you or something to whoever would build it. That way you won't have to pay somebody to build it per code or whatever.
I certainly would, Ray.
Yeah, they do have
So
a
just
ramp. They have a ramp, but that's a lake, and it's not fast moving.
Yeah,
So
it's
that
not
might
Right,
be the
right.
difference.
Might be a good start, but whoever did that, hopefully that's up to code.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Moving right along, we go to the bylaw amendment approval.
Thank you.
As a reminder, in July, we discussed some of the bylaw changes, and I changed the wording on it, sent it out. We all got it tentatively approved. That looks like it's right. And then we, in August, had not been 30 days, so we're here at 30 days now, and I'd like to remind you what we were changing. We were adding something to the Citizens Involvement Council bylaws. In reading those, what I had noticed is that we had an ad hoc grievance committee that was determining concerning the activities and policies or recommendations of the CIC. It was all about the CIC, but it wasn't anything about neighborhoods. While this initially started because of Park Place, it also impacts all neighborhoods if you have issues. You have no place to take them. I, at that time, took them to the city council, informed the mayor and the commissioners that I would propose something to us, and they agreed with that, and so then I brought it to all of you, which is where we came from this. I'm not finished yet, Kathy. So under the Article 4 grievances on Section 3, we added the fact that the grievance committee shall also serve, let me step back. Section 3 says the task of any grievance committee will be to study any grievances directed in writing to the CIC by any of its members or any person considering his or herself adversely affected by CIC recommendations. we had to add it. The grievance committee shall also serve as the body to which neighborhood association problems should be addressed. And then we said, see section 3G below. And what that said was, as the grievance committee relates to neighborhood association grievances, all 5 members should meet to hear and resolve grievances presented to the CIC. Any member who is party to or directly impacted by the grievance or the decision must recuse themselves from the committee, and a non-involved CIC member should be selected by the CIC membership for the process. Decisions by the CIC grievance committee shall be considered as the position of the CIC. Now, you remember we kind of went back and forth on that. It wasn't that they would make the final decision. It would just be the position of the CIC. So it's however that turned out. I guess if a neighborhood wanted to, they could still take it to the city council, but that is the position of the CIC. The only other change we made was under D, the CIC coordinator coordinates all activities of the CIC. This is a city staff position, and we added the words funded by the city of Oregon City. So there was no mistake about that. So at this point, that was that one minor change to this to allow us to have neighborhoods to a place to go. And I'm not sure if we need a
If you would call me, I could.
I know. I was thinking of the process here. Do we
Can I make a motion?
Make a motion. That's
why I want you to call me.
You want 2 motions?
Make it 2 motions, one because they're not related.
The 2 motions. Okay, we've got 2 different ones here. The grievance. So let's take a motion on that one first.
I move to approve that portion of the grievance.
Okay.
I second it.
All right. Did we do discussion now?
Yes.
Okay, discussion.
Call for the vote.
Let me push the button here.
Okay. Kathy, were you on discussion, or was that from previous, from making the motion?
I don't want to take myself off.
Okay.
It's permanently on for her.
Okay, William.
I would speak against this motion on the grounds that I would contend that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think that the issue that came up with Park Place, I truly expect to be an anomaly, that other neighborhood associations have not had this type of a situation, nor do we expect that type of a situation. And I think that there are adequate avenues for neighborhoods to resolve issues, either by coming to the CIC in general and bringing it, or by bringing it to the city council if it's necessary. I think that the case that brought this to issue was brought to the city council, which was certainly appropriate. The city council gave the neighborhood advice, which was not followed, and I don't imagine that a grievance committee would be even more effective than that, especially when the city council had the resources not only of their wisdom and years of experience and staff's experience and city attorney's experience and their general information that weighed in on it. And if a neighborhood is going to ignore that, I can't imagine that a grievance committee is going to be any more effective than that. And I just don't think this is necessary to clutter up the bylaws with this verbiage.
Okay. I guess I've got my name up there next. I think the city, when I did approach them with this, they said, yes, the bylaw wording was that the city had initially put on those was nebulous. It was hard to understand. It should be changed because that said anybody could vote in an election. When I did propose to them that night and afterwards, and another presentation here that I had proposed this to us, we had come up with wording. They seemed excited that we were going to take care of it ourselves rather than bring it to them. Park Place individuals did not ignore what they said. What we did propose that night was that we would do that, but what the city offered was that there was no way they could overturn it because of the way the bylaws were currently written. They were going to look at rewriting their bylaws that they give to each neighborhood, because it shouldn't just say any interested party, because that could be anybody at any time. I could be interested in your neighborhood for one moment. The thing is that what we're doing here is there was nothing in place at that time. So we had to come and waste the time of the city council with all our presentations and everybody else, when it would have been more orderly if we would have come here to all the neighborhoods who understand what we're facing and what we have in common. And it just seemed more logical to me, as well as to all of us at the time we did this, as well as to the city council and the mayor when I proposed it that night, as well as afterwards, that this made more sense to have, if there's a problem in a neighborhood, let them come to us first and not waste the city council time.
You've got two people on.
Okay, we don't see them over here.
But you didn't get on the right.
Get to B. Go to
Okay,
5B.
sorry, you're right.
Okay, now you got
Okay,
it.
so now it's Tom O'Brien.
2 points I'd like to make. First off, this is a citizen involvement council. The city has a city commission, not a city council. That's for the benefit of those who are listening, and we continue to call it a council. It's a commission. We spoke to quite a degree or depth at the initial meeting where we were working on this, and the language that is in the proposed change at this point was worked out by not only those of us in the room here tonight, but many who are absent tonight. After quite a few inputs from all different areas, and I think that by and large coming now and saying, no, it's not needed, when the general tone at that time was that this was a easy way to relieve the responsibility from the city commission, who seemed, in the one instance where it came up, to wish that it were being handled in a better manner by a different group. And I think since we do represent the neighborhoods, obviously it's not going to come up very frequently. I would think that, if it came up every 15, 20 years, but at least there is something in place, should it ever come up again, to deal with it and make that transition, if you would, a little simpler. The city attorney at the time was most uncomfortable with doing anything. He felt that because of the current language, his hands were a bit tied. And I don't think it's right that we'd be putting him in that position when we have an alternative which we've thoroughly discussed. And I think it's pretty easily resolved because of the number of times that we're going to be faced with it.
Are you done, Tom?
I'm finished.
Okay, Paul.
I agree with Tom on this, and I think we handled it well in our discussions. It wasn't a debate or anything like that. It was just literally discussing out the right way. I even think, if I remember correctly, Park Places already has the wording in their rules that are kind of that are similar to what we're trying to put in recommend.
Well, we do have the grievance in there for our grievance.
But no, it was about the voting, the people who are capable of coming.
It's not changed. It's still the
Or
same.
not Park Place. I'm talking about
McLaughlin neighborhood has that in place.
McLaughlin neighborhood. And so this is not inconsistent with what we're trying to do, to have something that's responsible. And personally, I'm in favor of it. Just let's get it over with. There's nothing outrageous about it. Let's just get something done that's positive and eliminate any possibility in the future of having some confusion. That's all. It's just eliminating the possibility of having confusion.
Okay. William.
Walter had his up first.
I'm sorry, I didn't see Walter on here.
That's okay.
I'm sorry, Walter.
That's okay. Yeah, I'm not electronic over here. But I just want to say I think that one of the reasons that I see William's side is because the people then in the grievance are intricately involved in the problem. And if you're going directly to the city commission, then you aren't having the same people, because none of the commissioners are on our committee, on our CIC. So
I don't follow that.
meaning the Park Place people who were involved could be in the future, the grievance people who are making these decisions.
So it's in the rules that they cannot be a part. Anybody who's directly involved.
But their
with it
friend
cannot
who
be.
they talked to that night, who sits next to them, is on the grievance committee. So I mean, it's too political, and it's too familiar, is my perspective. And I think that it jumped into the city commission is not an inconvenience to them. It's a necessity. That's my perspective. But
Kathy Hogan.
But
Are you?
Let her go.
oh, no, you go ahead.
I thought that was he had already spoken.
No,
I'm sorry.
you were there first.
I have, but this is discussion time, right?
Yeah, this is it.
Walter speaks to the issue of objectivity, which I think that the city council should be able to certainly be more objective if it came to that. I would want us to recognize that this issue is not about how an election should be held in any particular neighborhood. That's, I think, not supposed to be the issue at hand. The issue is if there is any sort of a dispute of any type, the way that elections are held certainly needs to be reviewed, but I don't think it needs to be reviewed by an ad hoc committee or a grievance committee really of any sort. I think that we can discuss these things, and if we want to talk about elections, we can talk about elections, but I just don't think that we need a small grievance committee to be dealing with these things.
Kathy.
I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I've found this city and some of the people within it are mean-spirited on some of the things that they do. And I guess I feel that we need something in the bylaws that would stop that mean-spiritedness. What it is, that may not be it, but there should be something that stops this mean spirit within this community, because all it does is bring dissension. That's it.
Okay. My final comments, I hope, on it are the fact that this, and it wasn't about your elections, you're right, it's not just about elections, it's about any major grievances. I think most people can handle problems in their neighborhood associations, but I would think that we got to give this group more credit for being objective too. They're on camera also to this public, and I don't think it's a matter of friends. I'm friends with a lot of the commissioners too, but they had to go by what was written in the bylaws. And even though they felt that what happened in that particular instance may have been wrong or it may have been unusual, they had to go by the bylaws because that was what was written. By including this in our wording here, it's only putting something as a recourse, because we had no more recourse. The only thing we could do was to come here and say, this is what happened, what can we do? And to watch the angst on their faces while they had to sit through listening to me and listening to other people. The best way to have handled this was to have gone first to the CIC and say, here's the problem we faced. But there was not that. There was no other recourse. The only one we could is to come here and let the whole city listen to what happened there. And so provides a place where if someone's got a major problem, they can come and say, CIC, we need your help and guidance. What can we do? Can you help us through this? And those individuals that would be serving on the committee are hopefully going to be nonpartisan, because we are all representing our various neighborhoods, and we're supposed to be objective with what we do. And that was, I think, when we discussed this, that was our role, was let's put something in here that gives a recourse for neighborhoods. If they're not happy with the way something's happening, if someone's taking complete control and never going to give up the chairmanship or this or that, at least they could come to somebody and say, you're all representatives of your neighborhood. How should we handle this? Because we cannot get our chair, our vice chair, or whoever to listen to us. And that's why I think we all agreed at the time to put this in. And again, that was in August we were going to vote, but we put it off. It was about 3 days difference. And now all of a sudden I'm hearing these differences. But boy, that was a long time that we thought. I know William has said that it gave you more time to think about it. But the more time I thought about it, the more strongly I feel that we need something. Yes, you're next. I'm sorry, Nick.
You want to go first? Go ahead.
Sure. I don't know if I have a right to speak or not, but
of course you do.
as a
use the
member
microphone.
of, I don't know how to turn it on.
You just need to pull it a little closer. There you go.
Okay, is that better?
Thank you.
I guess there's a few things that are of concern. I did read the current bylaws of CIC, and I understand that the first emphasis is really on mediation in terms of any kind of conflict that would occur within CIC, and I think we really need to stress that even more. I think that's the objective within a neighborhood association is to figure out how to work together, and I think that's going to be really key to have that communication process that occurs within that group. And I think the county mediator who we spoke with, they were very open to helping us. They are independent. They're professionals. That's what they do for a living. Again, in most cases, it's not a decision, a right or wrong type of decision. I think if it's I just don't see how the community is really going to come back together unless we have these kind of discussions and have some independence of somebody helping to lead those discussions through that process. And that's, I think, what Mayor Neely was really recommending, is that we really do that. And I do think that if there's something that's like the issue around the membership or whatever, as an example of who gets to vote, that type of thing, I think that can clearly come to CIC and be discussed if it's something that that should be changed across the board. I think actually if I read it was a declaration that established Park Place Neighborhood Association. That same language was in there. It wasn't that the bylaws did not. They incorporated what was originally the way that the neighborhood association got set up. So again, I think if that needs to be changed, I think that can. First of all, I think even that can be addressed at the neighborhood association level first, and then if a specific issue like that needs to be discussed within the group, I think that's logical. I'm not sure if I understand what the process would be. If something came to this committee, is somebody going to set out a warrant for us to come in and talk to you? I don't understand even what that process would be.
Great.
Yeah. Oh, William was next.
We'll go ahead.
I think William already had, or did you put it up?
This is
again?
another one.
Okay.
The process, Nick, is pretty clearly outlined in the proposed bylaws amendments. The point that I would make is that this can be handled without a conflict, without what's this called, a grievance committee. The fact is that when Park Place was having difficulties, they could have brought those to the CIC, and they weren't brought to the CIC.
It was too late.
Well, bringing it to the city council doesn't make it that much faster.
There was no process for the CIC to do it.
All you've got to do is say, I've got an item, a new agenda, new business to discuss, and bring it up and discuss it.
I think move it on. Let's take a vote.
That's
Missing my point, but the CIC meeting wasn't going to be held for a while, and we needed to get before the council right away. The election was held. The next CIC meeting wasn't going to be held for quite some time, and so we went to the very next council meeting.
Okay, so CIC meets every month. City Commission
Commission.
meets twice a month.
And that's why they took it to the very next one, because there wasn't going to be a CIC meeting for a while.
Put your sign there.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Ray was next.
Ray.
And I'll try to make it real quick because I know you were trying to get out by 8, but
Not going to happen.
just say 8:30. Just to reiterate, just because I want to make sure, I have a question and a comment. So this is to put in that there's a permanent grievance committee or an ad hoc when it's needed.
If it's needed,
Yeah,
right.
if
That's
it's
all.
needed.
If it's needed.
The option is good, but but you're saying it would be people picked at the time that there was an issue, right? Not certain people
And they
all
cannot
the
be
time.
from any area that's impacted.
Well, the one thing, and I don't know if this metaphor is right, but if people know it's there, I feel like they're less likely. There's that fine line. They're less likely of work it out among themselves. It's like knowing that your mom's going to give you the money if you ask for it. Then you're going to spend your money a little bit more because you know that she's going to take care of it. So I don't know. That's something to think about. Is how independent do you want the the individual neighborhoods to be. It's nice to know that it's there, though, that there's the option in our head.
I'll have an
I don't know.
explanation for you in a minute after Walter.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is there a way that we can just vote on this?
Yeah,
And
I'd
not
like
have
to
this,
vote.
this 5 months of discussion about it?
Let's have questions.
Okay,
Call for the
I'll
question.
say the last thing
I'm
on
sorry,
it.
I think
Yeah,
that
I
this
think
is, we're not going to
Yeah.
resolve anything.
I'm just, I have my name, I'll say the last thing. We've already got complaints in Park Place and because of violation of our bylaws as it is now, and we're not sure. We've had land use issues that the rest of the steering committee's not been notified of. Bylaws are being broken about notification of meetings down at Steve's. That's not come about. So I've been asked, do we come to CIC? And I said, not yet, because there's nothing in there. If you're not being notified by your own Park Place neighborhood people, you have no place to turn. So that's why I've been asked, do we come to you? And they were going to present them tonight, and I said no, because this is not in our rules yet. They don't know who to turn to if they're not getting proper notification from the current administration.
Okay.
So that's why it's in
Well, I'll
here.
call for it.
Question.
Question's been called.
Okay.
That-
Take the vote.
Now you say, take the vote. Oh, Chris can
I
take
guess
the
we
vote.
don't do a roll
Chris
call.
can take the vote.
So I guess, do we want to do anybody, just say all those
Do
in
a
favor?
vote,
It looks
yeah.
like it's, could be divided.
Yeah.
So
I
do
think
you
it's
want to
gonna
call
be
it by roll call?
Would you please call the
I-
vote, Chris?
I can.
Okay.
Okay.
Walter White?
Can you, I apologize, can you reiterate that it's in the bylaws, but it's not?
It's not been approved, it was just put in here by us.
proposed.
Proposed.
It's proposed.
It's not been voted on until tonight.
And we're
Okay.
voting for, yeah.
For there to be in the bylaws, but it's not, it's only as needed, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you see how important that is? It's like
Yeah,
that it's not,
as
we're not
needed.
stick to it?
Yeah, and then who says we can't review it in a year?
Yep.
Right, okay.
Okay.
That changes what I'm doing.
Chris?
Walter White?
Yes, you're for the bylaw amendment, or no, you're not?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Paul Egger?
Yes.
Larry Hanlon?
I abstain.
Kathy Hogan?
Yes.
Tom O'Brien?
Yes.
Ray Gordon?
Abstain. I can't decide.
William Gifford?
No.
Michael Berman?
I don't know enough about it. Abstain.
Alice Watts?
Yes.
Tom Guile?
Yes.
Ingrid Rickenbach?
Yes.
David Rickenbach?
Yes.
That is
7 yes,
2 no.
2 no's. 3 abstentions.
7 yes. 3 abstain.
Pass.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Okay.
Now you have to
So-
do the second
The
one.
second one is simply a change of wording. Section 2, CIC coordinator.
simple change of wording.
Yes, you think so? All we're doing is adding the words "funded by the city of Oregon City," because it is.
I move to pass it,
To approve it.
to approve it.
I
with a-
second that. Oh, I'm sorry. I fourth and fifth that.
Any discussion?
Question.
Yes, sir.
He's calling the question.
Calling for question.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. I'm sorry, what?
Who made the motion on the first?
It was Kathy.
Kathy, and who seconded that?
Paul.
Okay, got it, thank you.
On the first one?
Okay. Going on to new business. CIC booth at the Farmers Market on Saturday, September 24th. I hand that one to William.
I'll be there at 8:30 and at 2 o'clock to set up and tear down. And we're looking for volunteers to help these other time slots that you see listed on the agenda.
Put me where you want me.
Okay?
In my backyard mowing it.
Okay, Ray, I'll be there.
Actually, can I say something, and for the citizens out there too, that I did it and I had a great time, and I think that if there's anybody watching that'd like to meet new neighbors and have a nice day out and stuff and do something for their community, it'd be a great thing to who would they contact to?
come to the Saturday market?
Come, yeah, just come and volunteer.
Yeah.
Okay. It was great. It was a lot better than I thought it was.
Would you be able to do it again?
I'm gigging on the 24th,
Okay.
but I would if I wasn't.
I'll take 12 to 2.
Thank you, Walter.
I'll take the rest of it.
Well, you'll take it all right.
Who wants to help Larry?
Make me 11 to 2 then, poor guy.
I've already told them.
I even brought coffee last time. Am I right, Alice?
I have a really small staff, man, at my tavern, and I think I can come up and volunteer, but I don't have the time frame.
You know, you're welcome.
That's fine.
To be candid with you, I don't mind doing it at all. And if you can show up for a half hour, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's kind of cool.
I'd love to
Bring
come.
samples.
Yeah, bring samples.
Yeah. I've got a major call that's going to be coming out on for, this is, the 24th is Assembly Day for the Kanema Children's Park, when we are going to be assembling playground equipment in a stewardship expression of support. And so I'm going to need every able-bodied man, woman, and people ready to go. So that's a date where I'm going to be reaching out to everyone.
Did I already commit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Paul, can you send me a note? And I'll
Yes,
go
I
back
will.
to
I'm
the
going to be sending. I'm going to send out an email, maybe tonight or tomorrow morning, because I got an email just before I came to this meeting from Scott Archer confirming that it's go.
Good. Good.
So this is the first moment that I've had the opportunity to really know that we were, after kind of monitoring all the construction activity, that he feels comfortable. It's time, and the moment is there, and we're going to try to save the city $15,000 and reinvest that money into this children's park in real
Thanks
stuff.
very much. And if that's the case, we don't have a contract with Farmers Market. We don't have to be there. If we think our time is better spent on at Kanema working out there, we can tell Nancy that it's a buy this month.
Well, I'll tell you my stand. I'm not physically able to help out at Kanema, but I can certainly take the whole brunt.
Okay, and I can get there early and set the
if
thing up,
Walter
and I can
wants to
show
come,
up.
that's fine.
Yeah, Jackie, not Nancy.
Did I say Nancy?
Yeah.
Jackie, yeah, one of those other E names. Okay, so I'll set it up. Larry, you come when you can, and as soon as you get there, I'll scoot on over to Kanema, and then I'll just have to be back around 2:00 to tear it down. And Walter, if you can help, that'd really be appreciated. And Michael, if you can find some time to get over there, I think it'd be good for you to learn more about the neighborhood too. Run some business.
Yeah, Michael, we understand that you have a business, and like I say, if you come for 15 minutes, that just makes it great. Whatever you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, but Michael, what they're saying that the city's going to bring coffee and sandwiches and water each day. I know that you could probably augment that with something.
You can fill in the gaps.
And typically, I would have volunteered to help, but I've already told the guys I'm busy with setting up the pumpkin patch that day. So.
Okay, I'll take care of that.
Okay, asking OCPW. Nancy, what do you have to say? Nancy's not here this evening. Let's go to.
She says everything is great.
Okay.
Yes, everything is great, and I want to put a plug for for this new app that you can get for your smartphones. What's it called? OC Request.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd suggest that if you have smartphones, to try downloading that app of OC Requests, and you can report outages. There's a whole series of things that you could report: graffiti or potholes, or if there's a traffic accident or something like that. And it's all interactive, and I was very impressed with it. Yeah.
Last year it cost me $300.
Have had a chance to use it in real life. You can verify addresses and all sorts of fun stuff.
Okay. Committee
I
reports.
have a question of Nancy.
Oops, sorry. You have a question for Nancy?
How can I help you, Tom?
Am I mistaken or dreaming, or did Nancy mention quite a few months ago that the state was planning to clean the tunnel on 99? And
They did.
They did?
And it looks, they did half several weeks ago, and the following weekend they did the other half. Unfortunately, that's what's underneath there, and they had a crew with pressure washing equipment. It's a big thing for me to have. I was thinking it was going to look different, but it needs paint, actually.
If that's what's needed, I believe that's in the Urban Renewal District. Perhaps a request of the Urban Renewal Commission to fund 20 gallons of paint would be an appropriate thing at this time while it's still clean.
I would think so.
Gee, do we have anybody on the Urban Renewal Commission that could address that?
You're talking about the railroad under the...
Yeah.
And
I looked at it today. And
it's not real pretty.
I thought they were going to clean this.
And I think, doesn't the railroad and ODOT have some responsibility for upkeep with that as well? There was a joint project when they built it.
It's just, it's just,
ODOT actually cleaned that.
yeah. It's just interesting that that ODOT has got their hands full, and they're trying to figure out this paving project that would go all the way through the tunnel all the way through Kanema. And they have not yet been able to get it fully verified, and so they're really trying to figure out how they're going to allocate their activities.
What if a bunch of vandals had access to some paint rollers?
I'm in.
Okay.
Did you want to ask a question, or did you have something to say?
No, just that, I mean, ODOT has responsibility for that bridge.
I just have a question for Chris. Do you know what happened Saturday up by the falls? That was the most lights I've seen in all my life. We were coming up, and I think there was every fire truck in the nation there.
Somebody climbed down and
That
thought
he
they
did,
could.
and then I saw him.
No
I think he
jumper.
got a good talking to. From my viewpoint at Stillhouse, more than one talked to him. So he did. That was the rumor. But I mean, I've never seen that one truck. The heavy
I
duty.
didn't read the report, but I believe they were coming down the tracks and tried to climb up.
Oh, Dave.
Let's move along to the committee
A
reports.
lot of nice police
Okay.
officers there in fire trucks.
Geological Symposium Committee.
Okay, team, we're on board. We've got 2 more meetings set up of our committee before these 2 symposiums are held. And those, again, are the first Thursday of October and November from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Jackson campus. Do you remember the sequence of those, Paul? The first one is slides.
Yeah. Yes.
The first one is slides, how to prepare, what's the real and perceived dangers of slides in Oregon City, and the second one is regarding earthquakes and general emergency preparedness. And these,
Could you repeat those dates again?
yes, the first Thursdays of October and November. I'm sorry, second Thursday.
Is it?
I'll give you dates, just a second.
Can somebody send out an email to the group?
Yeah, we can.
There's going to be a mass.
But we'll send out
advertising thing,
we'll
yeah.
send you out the copy. We have a PDF now of the
flyers, yeah.
of the flyers finally, and so we should get that broadcasted out so that everyone
Tells everybody else, yeah.
that you can tell everyone. You can send it to everyone. Because one of the key issues there is emergency preparedness and being able to make sure that people are responsible not only to themselves but to their friends and neighbors about with their own actions and what they have. And we are going to be giving away real product.
Nice door prizes.
Nice door prizes.
Did you invite Beth Dudley from Clackamas Fire?
We've invited. We've been working with what's.
Yes, Clackamas Fire
It's got its team.
is on board. They are one of the sponsors. Oregon City Public Schools, or School District, is one of the sponsors. Trying to think. Oh, we talked to the hospital. Didn't get much traction
Yeah.
there, but I'm pretty sure that Beth is on board for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have another meeting coming up
Yep.
this week, so
This Thursday.
we'll touch base on that again.
So the November meeting is going to have what for a topic?
Earthquakes.
Your own bylaws.
And earthquakes and
talking
general
about this.
emergency preparedness. So there will be some overlap with what I know South End and
Hazel
Grove, Western Farm are going to be doing regarding CERT training and so on. So there will be introductions
It's
regarding the
Friday.
CERT.
I mean Thursday.
Okay. Larry wants to say something about
And for Paul and William, is it too late for a volunteer to come on your committee?
Well, you come to Thursday,
Sure.
listen.
Okay, what I've got 3 ladies in Caulfield that are very interested in being on anything to do as far as emergency preparedness. And I want to start getting my people into things, so I will bring them.
At 4 o'clock?
Yeah, 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock Thursday here at City Hall. Ask at the front desk where the meeting is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Moving right along, the Bylaws Review Committee, I'd like to dissolve that committee. We reviewed them. There was only those few changes that we were going to make. We're not going to review it every other month. So
That was
it's-
an ad hoc committee.
It was an
anyway.
ad hoc committee, so let's dissolve that. Video opportunities, that's been ongoing for some time. There's been obviously some things with
Other things.
yeah, with other things going, but also with the
With Willamette Falls.
with Willamette
already.
Falls already, and
Media
I think
center,
we were
yeah.
waiting for that to clear up.
And now we got an excuse.
Yeah, until we could really go forward with something to that. And that was 2 videos. You were going to think of doing something about CICs, and initially I was going to do something about each neighborhood, giving a 3-minute segment about their neighborhood associations. I question my involvement at this point, but I think that it's still just in holding, right, until we can
Yes.
decide. Okay. Next, we go to reactivation of neighborhood associations, Gaffney Lane. Anybody?
Chris?
We have, the Gaffney Lane neighborhood is the last one now that needs to be reactivated. We've held 3
3.
meetings.
And we're hopeful for the next one because we met some people at the at Saturday Market, that are the farmers market that we think maybe be willing to be involved, and we'll just keep trying, and we will keep having these meetings until we can get the thing going.
And Tower Vista has their actual first meeting this coming Wednesday at 7 p.m. at the Ainsworth House. So if any of you would like to join Larry, William, and I, we will be there to help them get started.
That's at 7 p.m. at the Ainsworth House.
Right. So everyone's welcome.
Okay. Land Use Committee, anything popping up? We haven't had a meeting yet.
Very disappointed. We don't have any land use stuff to consider. And what we have been doing is this means that we don't have a lot of action going on. That's not good. So the last time we had any action, we went and reviewed it right away. We got an opinion, and we zapped it back directly to them and to the city and said, fine. I'd just love to have a chance to say fine. more often.
Have we heard anything more on the proposed changes to the Oregon City Shopping Center?
The only thing that's happening is that they have withdrawn. They have decided to not advance the tearing down of some of the buildings at this time. They're kind of doing a very crawl, walk, run approach, and they're not going to be building the building out there in the parking lot like they'd planned at this time.
Okay.
And they have been focusing all of their efforts on trying to land multiple prospects into the shopping center. And what they've had since the Rivers did not come to volition, they've had a lot. Fruition. Okay.
But if you're for it, it's for-ish.
So don't worry about it. He's from Oregon City. That's
Okay,
how we talk.
yeah. So what they've had is they've had a lot of people coming in and wanting to rent, and they have just added in Kaiser Dental, and that's a big deal, bringing in some high-paying jobs.
Where's
and they've
that
got
Oregon City Shopping Center.
Oregon City Shopping Center, and they've got a couple other major customers that are coming in, And so their life looks better. And they are trying to just respond to trying to get people signed up, leased up, and bring jobs into Oregon City. And gee, that sounds good.
So if there's no land use going on,
Activity.
should we all get together and plan some?
Yes.
Tom O'Brien.
Yeah, this isn't on the agenda, but it is under new business. I wanted to
And
ask
I want
Chris.
to talk about the item on the agenda.
Okay, that's.
Just
I guess we're jumping back to new business, and Tom.
No, just on the committee reports.
Tom.
Let William take care of
Okay,
it.
thank you.
Just a real quick one. We had a presentation last month on the unions training hall, and we had asked some questions. Have we ever gotten a response back from the architects?
Not that I've heard.
Okay, that's all I need.
Nothing's
Tom.
come.
Yes, I had a question of Chris. You've been very gracious in the past in putting together some Excel spreadsheets which show the expenditures and budgets of the various neighborhood associations. Is something like that going to be coming out shortly again? I think it's been probably about a year or so since we last had that.
I have it right here if you want to look at it.
This is a current
That's
one
only, isn't that only related to what the city gives for mailings?
Correct.
for mailings and so forth,
It's
is
nothing,
what I was looking for.
completely separate from an actual budget of a neighborhood association, right?
Right. This is just the money that thank you for coming.
If
That has been allotted from the city for the neighborhoods.
Mr. Chair, I have a couple issues or things that I'd like to talk about. One of them is this Kanema Children's Park effort. I'd like to, if I could, to read the
Okay,
email.
One second, I'm getting lost here. Where this? Should we go this into roundtable and have that as part of roundtable because it's we've finished with committee reports. So let's go into roundtable, and if you don't mind holding that, let's start there, and we'll come to you. Is that okay, Paul?
Okay.
Yes, Mike. Roundtable, anything for the good of the. Okay.
Ingrid has her.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ingrid. Was it about something that was being discussed?
Well, I had a question about the
Sorry, gang.
spreadsheet. How did they come up with the number of households?
That's all done through the GIS department. They have listings of all the addresses and residents.
Because when we were meeting with our steering committee, a person who does newsletters was there, and he said, well, they always ordered 2,400. How did they come up with only 1,400 now?
The
Probably
labels
because,
on the city website, those numbers don't agree with the numbers on the spreadsheet.
yep.
These numbers are about half of what the number of labels are that the printers use to send out the postcards and so forth.
I'll have to check with Chris in GIS because he's the one that gave me the numbers.
Well, and at one time, though, Hazel Grove and South End did, they combined the newsletter. It was just one to both groups.
Well, she's going to look into it.
Or Hazel Grove and South End.
Yeah, before John came.
So
And
we should be
Karen-
asking that the labels match these numbers, is that what we
Yeah,
should
I'm
be
just
asking?
curious if the number of labels that, you and I can download off the website, if there's significantly more of those than what supposedly there are a number of households, either we're sending things to open sewers or something, I don't know. I think the
question.
numbers ought to
Well, household
much agree
doesn't
with one
include
another.
businesses, right?
No, it includes
Nope.
businesses.
Addresses.
And churches.
Okay.
So if it's done by, if so much money is allocated by street address, then they're asking should they be getting more or less. I think is the.
Well, we'll reconcile.
I'm just asking, obviously one of the numbers is
Right.
not
I'm guessing it has to do with
accurate.
businesses.
I don't know which, and
Chris can look
it
into
would
that.
bear,
I'll have to check with Chris in GIS.
okay.
Okay. So let's move.
I guess
again.
the other question you might
Sorry.
ask Chris is, or whoever's responsible for it, is how often are those address labels cleaned up?
Quarterly? I'm pretty sure. I mean, we get emails.
Well,
saying-
maybe Chris can check into it, is all
Yeah.
I'm asking.
Yeah.
Walter.
Barkley Hills neighborhood, we had a meeting in July. It was one of our largest attendances. We created traffic, land use, and an ad hoc bylaw committee. Those committees are meeting on September 21st. Those totaled 4 people. Edith Risen is one of our great elderly neighbors, and she, in our meeting, brought up that she asked the question, why are we called Berkeley Hills Neighborhood? Because we should be called Elyville. And so she brought up this whole historical perspective that used to be a totally different area, town, where we are at the top of the hill. It's called Elyville, and she has this. So she's been tasked to bring to our next neighborhood meeting in October the history of it. And there is an issue, and I'm sure you all have this, where some neighbors, the Berkeley Hills area is one area, but then we have Pearl Street, we have all these other neighborhoods, and so some people have this perspective that, well, our neighborhood association only pertains to those people that have the name attached to them somehow. So it was interesting. Maybe Elyville will bring us together. I don't know. So, but I don't know. It's just kind of interesting how you never know what to expect when you go to these meetings. But you have a whole resource of people with generations of interesting information to bring too, which is fascinating. So, just want to share that. Thank you.
Chris? Are we coming this way?
Did you have a
Mike
comment?
passed. He said he really had.
Okay, I didn't know what the round tables on the McLaughlin hours is a little speedy, and I didn't want to slow anybody down here. So.
Please.
We need that guy here. So I'm just catching up to speed. This is only my second meeting, and I'm grasping a little bit more of what it's all about, and I think I'd like to have some more information pertaining specifically to this, to be a mouthpiece for the downtown. I think a lot of the downtown merchants aren't aware of this. Maybe they've forgotten about it. I mention what it is, and they say, "Oh, well, Lloyd's doing such a great job." I said, "Well, that's a whole different thing. We're still a community down here as well as this downtown thing, and there's a lot of interest and some discontent downtown, and some content, but I think that we have a little bit more of a neighborhood now, just walking around and talking to people, and some of the new merchants in town that have arrived. So probably next meeting we'll have quite a bit more. I know quickly this is probably something for the city. Probably 40% of the streetlights are not working right now, and it's pretty dark and spooky.
They will be.
And is that something that we all are aware of?
There's a whole replacement project for the street lamps.
Well, the current ones that are still there are not turned on, and it's.
I expect they're not being maintained because they're going to be replaced. I expect.
It's not good.
It
A lot
has
of changes
something
coming.
to do with the
Yes,
current
Nancy would, yes.
construction of the-
I'm not sure, but
What
beyond.
you're saying is it's not safe.
Beyond aesthetics, there's a safety hazard. It looks like the city's pretty much closed up to the merchants that are open after 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. It's kind of a big concern for us.
In a safety deal, that's a big deal.
Nancy's currently on vacation, but I will send an email tomorrow
Awesome.
to Kathy and Nancy.
Thanks. That's all.
And what's happening this Saturday?
Main Street.
Main Street. Going to be fun. Cars.
Trick and Racy.
We're it should be a good thing. One of the things we're going to bring up too is some of the merchants that are not on between 9th and 8th and 6th are the ones that probably are the most vocal, and they want to be part of these things and maybe spreading it out. The slogan is Main Street is more than 8th and Main is our new slogan.
Oh, that's good.
From the Trails End to 505, there's merchants that feel that we want to be a part of downtown, but we seem to be focused near the courthouse. And for an example, there are 9 park benches in 2 blocks, and then from 5th to 6th, there's 0.
Michael, does it also include 10th and Main?
We hope so. Yeah, we like 10th and Main too. We just been walking some of the merchants from some of the local restaurants, the new hat shop. It's a broad spectrum of different merchants coming in and talking about it. I think what the catalyst for the conversation was the beautification of the alleys. and still the street hasn't a cohesive look to it. It starts off beautiful, and as you get farther and farther from the center, the courthouse, which seems to be the center, the beautification seems to fade out to nothing. And so I think in order to have a more vibrant downtown, and many of the merchants do too, is to maybe spread that out. I know that the street project is supposed to help, but this is kind of a whole different thing than the streets. This is about the sidewalks and
Sidewalk, a little paint on some of the fronts.
yeah, and maybe the tunnel, the gateway to our town, is in dire need as well. So next weekend will be short and sweet, or next month, and probably have quite a bit to offer at the round table.
But, by the way, the Urban Renewal Commission did approve $30,000 for studying and planning what should happen with the alleyways.
Yeah.
Okay, so we couldn't go past that because no one had any plans. And until we have some actual studies and plans that could be brought before us, much like storefront grants.
Sure.
I don't think that was his point. I think his point was we're spending time on the alleys and not on the streets.
But we're trying to do stuff.
Sure. And possibly maybe the alleys is a whole different thing, and that money allocated for that is separate than that could be allocated.
Yeah.
Okay, 20 to 9. I'll never say again that we're going to get out of here by 8, no matter what's on the schedule. Chris, were you done?
I hadn't started.
That's right, I thought. Go for it. Sorry, Chris, go.
I just wanted to share that the police department last week hired, another new officer started last week, and another officer will start on Wednesday, which will give us a full complement of officers. We do have, this Sunday is shift change. So you'll be seeing different faces on different shifts again. So.
How many does that give us on the police force now?
Sworn and non-sworn? 48.
48? How much of a change is that in the last couple of years? Sounds like a lot.
Quite a bit.
Yes.
It's been wonderful.
It's been wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah, Chief Conrad's done an awesome job.
Okay. One other quick question about the police department, if you don't mind. When somebody has a situation in the neighborhood, they're not, and it's not an emergency, somebody's in danger of life, is there a specific number that they're supposed to call rather than 911?
The non-emergency number?
And will they get reaction right away? I think that's the question that's been asked by our safety committee.
It will be put in line, on the...
Okay, well, I know there's a number, but what I'm asking, William, is some people were saying, like, there was a car, that motor was running, they were outside an abandoned house. Somebody said, well, if I don't call the emergency number, the other one's just going to be slow and they're not going to react. And I'm wondering if that's true.
No, you need, that is not a life or death. 911 is for an
Life or death.
emergency.
Okay.
The
Not
non-emergency
burglaries or
number
things
is
like that.
503-655-8211.
And there's somebody
And
answering
everybody
that.
should keep that in their phone.
You want to repeat that?
503-655-8211.
All non-emergencies, not life or death. Okay.
655.
And there's still a fast response.
11.
I think some people thought that was one of those where there was a message. And
What is then 657-4964, which goes to a recorder?
That goes directly to the front desk at the police department.
That should
Okay,
not
that
be
I
used.
believe is what's on the website for non-emergency. I could be wrong, but that's where I got that number from.
That's if you want to talk to me.
2 in the morning.
Oh, I have you on speed dial, you know that.
Okay.
The other thing is, beginning September 21st, we are having our second Citizen Academy starting, and that will be every Wednesday from 6 to 9, so September 21 through December 14th. And I believe we would still take some applications from citizens if they were still interested. And Chiefs Advisory starts up again next week, so...
I know it's more appropriate
We're
to
back
address
in
it there,
line.
but do you wish to address the National Night Out and the success or lack thereof?
I guess we haven't had a meeting since then.
Oh, that's true. National Night Out was held on Tuesday, August 2nd at Chapin Park. It was a great success.
Very nice. And great singing.
Yes, we had great singing from
Again.
Ray Gordon and
Was that-
Larry Hanlon's son-in-law's group, Canals of Venice. It was a great evening. We had some excellent help from the Oregon City Baptist Church. Members of their congregation came and helped us set up and take down. We've never had that kind of help before.
There had to be triple what was last year.
Oh, Chief Conrad estimated probably over 600 people. We had 200 meal tickets to hand out, and we did that in 14 minutes.
And you had a lot of children that had a lot of fun.
Yes, yes. It was a great event, and we'll be starting to work on next year's.
Chris,
And I can tell you, Ray can belt out blues.
oh, yeah.
Yes, she can.
And you're lucky that the children weren't left for you guys to take home.
I have to say, Chris, that it was an honor to serve on that committee.
Thank
And
you.
we made some serious mistakes, but we made them together.
It was fun. It was good. We had a good time.
Well, it's 8:45, so
I got-
Paul, I'm sorry, we have to cut you off and go. But if you could address it fairly quickly so we could
I've
get
got
around to everybody.
I've got a few things I would love to talk about. I hope you'll withstand some of this. The 20th at 5:30, Metro is going to have a kind of a discussion about where they're going with the 287 acres that they have now aggregated together on the Kenema Bluff. And I went out and we've done some work with Brian Vaughn and, from Metro, and talking about the paths and the plans and where they want to go, but they want to try to involve the citizenry of Oregon City and our neighborhood in this discussion. So if anybody would like to come on the 20th at 5:30, this is an opportunity to kind of get your head around an opportunity that we have with our partner Metro, to where they want to not only protect a natural resources area, but they want to use it as an educational tool for us all. They want to open it up with intelligence.
Where's this going to be?
It's going to be at the Kenema Children's Park.
Okay.
So that's an event coming. So then I get this email from Scott Archer today. He says, I'm writing as a follow-up and a final reminder that about the volunteer playground build at the park September 24th and 25th. You had indicated previously that you were taking the lead on lining up volunteers for this. A few details you'll want to be aware of. The volunteers are to arrive at the site each day at 8 a.m. The city will provide the volunteers with breakfast like muffins, bagels, fruit, lunch, and probably sandwich, coffee, and water each day. It would help in the ordering of the food if you could give us a rough estimate of how many people are likely to attend. If you could give this to me by the beginning of the week, that would be best. All necessary tools will be provided. The volunteers will need to be sure to dress appropriately for the work and may want to bring a pair of gloves. The playground company will provide the personnel to direct the project. Denise Kai, Assistant Park and Recreation Director, and I will be on site much of the weekend to help in the coordination. Phil Philbin, the representative we have working with us with the playground company, Ross Recreation, and I will be giving you Nick's address to connect with you so that we can get it going. Anyway, the whole story is I'm writing on. It's on. We need the community to rally to this event. We come together to build the playground for children. Our job will be to assemble and set new playground equipment. In committing to do this, we save the money and got additional investment in important playground equipment and investments in the park. This is an attempt to make the Oregon City Kenema Children's Park one of the best possible experiences for our young people and their parents. With a little hard work, we can gain some ownership. This is really stewardship 101, and have some fun at the same time. This to me is like an old-fashioned barn racing. So everyone come help make this possible. So that is one thing that's happening. I'll be trying to broadcast this out so that everyone gets it. With your help, we can get it out to everyone. We'll get it into the newspaper. We want to have some fun, but we want to show the world, our community, that we can come together positively on a positive practice that's going to help kids, and it's going to be smart for us.
Where do people park?
We'll park in the streets, every place we can, right there. We'll fill it up as you come right back up 4th Avenue, right to the area. If you can park on 3rd, you can walk up the steps off from 3rd up into the area too. And you can, so there's places to park. We're just going to have to do it and find the way to do it and just make it happen. And then the other thing that I'm working on, and I'm hoping that I can encourage help, and this is another stewardship move for our city. In conjunction with the city, I have now a map, and this map reflects in red all of the city-owned properties in Oregon City. And what we're trying, and each property now has a number at the bottom, and we're trying to take all of this information again, save the city money, because they don't have the resources here to be able to really cross-reference all of this. So they did this so that we could come up to one coordinated deal. So we're saying in asset management, what are all of these properties? And so I went with the help of some friends, and we went to Metro Scan, and we've got all of the real estate documents on these properties that talk about, that say, we have a tax ID, but not the real property IDs. Mm-hmm. So now this gives us all the cross-reference, all the assessed values, all the size. It even gives us a map of the parcel, so we can actually do it. And what we're doing is we're taking these sheets and finding them on here, and then putting a number on them and cross-referencing them.
That's a great idea.
And so when we get this, then we're going to be able to go back and say, oh, that is a pump station. But I went up to a pump station and I found that half of the lot was a pump station. The other half was sitting unmaintained right next to a $500,000 house. And we said, oh, every property then has a cost of ownership. Mm-hmm. How do we maintain? What is the cost of what we're doing? Do we have property that we don't really need? Should it be flipped? Is there a business plan associated with each parcel so that we can really understand what it is? This is kind of going back to basic asset management. And
are you looking for volunteers?
So I'm looking for volunteers that will take, I have 3 bundles this thick. Mm-hmm. And I want to take these bundles, I put a number on, cross-reference them to the map. And so the first part, then we're going to take them and then sort them down by neighborhoods and say, in your neighborhood, sure, track down what each one of these parcels are and give us an overview of what that parcel is in the neighborhood perspective. Mm-hmm. Okay? So that the neighborhood then could be a party to saying, what are we doing?
So you're going to make a subcommittee to do this, or what are you going to do?
This is, well, I would love to find, first of all, we need to get all of these parcels, all the property cross-reference.
Who's doing that?
And I've been doing it myself, and I'd love to try to get some people to step in. And you know, you don't have to do a lot, just have some fun, have a little party.
Sure.
Bring people, sit around a table, we'll take the map, take a bundle of these and start cross-referencing. And then pass it on to somebody else and let them have some fun until we get them all done. And then we start
wintertime project.
Then we start assembling them back together and try to make sense out of this until we can finally. Yeah, this might take 6 months. Yeah, but whatever it takes, at the end, what we do is we get it done.
How many properties are there?
There's 289 properties that the city owns.
Okay.
Is it something possibly that could be done, say, 45 minutes to an hour before our normal meeting?
People, yeah, what we just need is a big table and people that want to sit down and have some fun or take it home. People that are ready to do it, just have to do it. And if you've got a group that's want to sit down and it's just, this is all just to try to make it happen and come together and get it so we can start. And then once we get it together and we get it identified, then we start trying to think out what should we do with it. And this is not me, this is kind of like, what is asset management? What should we be thinking out? What should we know about all of these properties? And how do we make the city good stewards of our assets?
Yep.
Okay.
I just
Sounds
suggest
like Oregon City Monopoly.
Yeah, real quick is that you might want to, just because I know your time is pretty valuable and we're pretty stretched out, is that you might want to consider checking with one of the colleges and maybe somebody can get some credit for doing that.
Yep.
Maybe some kind of plan.
This is a senior project.
Yeah, there's a lot of senior projects.
That'd be a great senior project for kids.
I actually have someone who has 3 hours to do.
Well, hey, if you've got somebody that would, I'd love to. I just want to get people. This is again when we get this out into the hands of people. We're trying to get their minds involved or wrapped around being smarter.
Right, and that will happen when if somebody can get the credit on it, then that you give us to each like you want.
Actually, you should bring that up at Chiefs Advisory and for Kathy Johnson at the high school.
Okay.
I'm sure she would be able to get some students.
And anybody that has any ideas or wants to try to tackle this for a little while, have some fun, see what it is.
Contact you.
Yes, I've got all these wonderful sheets
Contact
here.
you.
It's kind of interesting to look at when we bought it, how much did we pay for it, what was the so-called use, and that we had.
Contact
Paul.
So
So
your
once
idea of
it's
fun and mine.
split out,
Okay.
then
Okay, William. You got 30
I'll pass.
seconds. Just kidding.
This back there.
William just passed. I just wanted to briefly tell you about what I was telling these guys earlier, and that's about the pumpkin patch over in Park Place. It's been years since Oregon City's had a pumpkin patch, and I wanted to offer to any neighborhood associations like McLaughlin and the other ones.
Is it 8 o'clock yet?
Yeah, I know. I'm just going to I'm talking quick. What I'm trying to say is, I know Denver Bronco. How come I'm getting all the rap and I've only got 10 seconds into this? I'd like to offer to any neighborhoods, if they want to bring the snow cone machine down, we're going to be 5 weekends there in October, and if a neighborhood association wants to be involved to help, I've already talked to Mark today at Oregon City Baptist Church. Their youth group may come down and volunteer on some day to do an event to help raise money. We've got the Oregon City Band and Flag Team that needs to raise money to go to New York for a 9/11, believe it or not. It's in November, an event they're attending. Angels in the Outfield, which is children abused. And we've also got children with sight and hearing. So I'm looking for ways. We're working this with Sears Nursery on Forsyth Road. We may even have some bands play or whatever. The main thing is we wanted to tell you all we're looking for volunteers or groups that may want to serve snow cones or something else for your neighborhood. And if you want, I'll leave some cards up here, and it's got the neighborhood association, not the neighborhood association, it's got the pumpkin patch. Snow cones in October. It gets hot in October. If someone would want to volunteer or contact us about doing some fundraising activity for any group, just let us know. I'm working with Patty Sears, and Rocky Smith is also going to be working on the event, doing a Monster Midway. If you need a poster, one of these, we've got those too. That's it.
Do you have a way to email us that?
Yes, through the OC Pumpkin Patch right here. And again, it's Rocky, Patty Sears, and myself putting this on together. And it's all 5 weekends of October, starting September 30th, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
What happens is when you email it to me, then I just cut and paste it and it's gone, and then I don't have to.
Okay, I'll do
So,
that.
thank you.
Will do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Walter. I spoke. So, again, we're going to Larry. Sorry.
Okay, Paul Edgar answered most of my questions from the Caulfield neighborhood group, but I've got two left. No, Caulfield. That's Caulfield is where I'm from. But he's answered the questions that they had. Thank you, William. Is there any money in the super fund for the downtown project, for the mill? Does anybody know? Okay.
Super fund?
Yeah, super fund money.
What's the Superfund money?
Yeah, the cleanup.
It doesn't qualify for Superfund.
Thank you. That's the answer. The next one is, when is Walmart coming to Oregon City? Is never the answer?
No. The
Thank you.
answer is that they are really, it is in their agenda.
Okay. Absolutely. So that's the answer I wanted. I'm done.
Okay. Tom.
I jumped the gun and asked my question earlier. Thank you.
Kathy.
Oh, we have our meeting this Thursday, the 15th, and we have the CERT program coming that was what William's talking about, really coordinates with those two meetings you're having, October and November. So hopefully Ingrid has that note. And please come and join us. Volunteer.
Volunteer is a good thing. Ray.
Hi. I'm shy. Look away. I just want to say that I will volunteer to test the swings when they're all set up to make sure they're good.
Come on down.
Yeah, I'll do it. Well, probably 2 in the morning. And I just want to say that I joined in on the dog park meeting that happened here recently, and it was great to see. And I was, I expected, because I've been to dog parks and I know how they can be, and I expected there to be a little some people that were negative or some people were positive, but it was all positive. It was people automatically stood up and said, "Hey, I'll do this and I'll do that," and and it's great. It's good to see it moving forward, and it's something that really can one of those great issues that is very positive that can bring people together.
There's an issue of people using the school grounds because they have the walks around them and their dogs.
That is a huge issue.
And I am tired of them leaving there and not picking it up because my children aren't there, but other people's children, they go out there. It's good weather after school, and there needs to be a sign there: pick up or you're going to get fined.
Right.
Okay, Ray, were you done?
I mean, that's something your group could talk about.
When's the next week?
I'm not sure when it is, but if you go on Facebook, it's Friends of the Oregon City Park, and so it's
Dog park.
Friends of the Oregon City Dog Park. And no, that's one thing. Is that's one issue is that if there's a dog park, the more likely they'll be picking. And there's a whole bunch of opportunities, and I think that's it. There's some repaving going on in the Hillendale neighborhood along Chippendale and Eastbourne. I just like saying that. Chippendale Lane and Eastbourne. There's some repaving.
Where all the good dancers are?
Yes.
And they've broken
That's
ground
why
on-
I live there.
And they've broken ground on Safeway's fueling station.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So that it's all moving forward and all good.
Okay, Ingrid.
Like Kathy said, our neighborhood association meeting will be this Thursday at the Oregon City Methodist Church, and at 7:00. And we'd like to invite as many people as would like to come and hear about emergency preparedness and CERT training.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay, David.
Nothing.
And I apologize big.
You can't.
I apologize profusely.
What has that got to do with the Denver Broncos?
Yeah, that's true.
They've lost already.
I have to apologize at least once a day for something, or it's not me. But I want to say that the Hillendale Neighborhood Association meeting is coming up the first Tuesday in October. So I invite people to come and learn about what's going on with Safeway and the repaving and all that good stuff. So please come.
And
Alice.
Phyllis Stockton is working.
What?
No.
Okay, I guess that concludes the meeting.
I'd make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you so much.
Second it.
Never needed.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Just touch